I'm scared. Am I really ready to do this? I'm not. Be safe. Let me just say, for my own sake. Was what I did during the investigation the best I could have done? Will it be enough to carry me through this trial? Will it be enough to lead me to Wolfgang's killer? I won't know until I do it. Until I face this trial head on. There's no way I can place my faith in the other people here. There's no way they'll come to the correct conclusion. Our survival depends on me. Okay. Sure. Hello? Okay. The elevator began to slow, snapping me back to reality. I'm back. Sorry. The doors in front of us opened.
Rise and shine.
Somebody call an ambulance! I think I've caught a case of deja vu!
Is it this lovely?
It feels like only yesterday we were all playing detective at the corpse of a crime scene. My, how in what? And chipper so many of you used
How
to be.
interesting.
After all that back and forth over a simple whodunit mystery. Howdunit mystery. I'm truly curious of what today's trial will yield.
Yeah,
Just to remind myself, our names are on the podiums, right? Eager to start, are we? Yes, to find your podium, just look wherever your name is.
The show must go on.
Come on now, to it. I'm so excited. I can barely wait a second longer. I really don't want to do this.
Oh, crud!
We gotta do as he says, though. Right. We gotta do as he says, though. Otherwise, that enforcer lady might get mad. Knowing we were powerless to disobey Tozu, we began to disperse and locate our podiums.
Hey!
It's okay, everyone. If we work together, we can do this.
We can't give up!
Right, guys? If we work together, we can solve this case. So, come on, let's do this for Wolfgang. Although her words elicited nods from the other students, the expressions on their face told a different story. It was an expression I couldn't help but feel conflicted over, in a moment where I shouldn't have been focusing on my feelings. Sorry. An expression of unmistakable fear. For days now, I've been angry over the mock trial. Angry at how much people resented me for telling the truth. How they twisted my words and assumed my intentions. I'm angry, but that didn't mean I wanted to be right. I would have been happy for reality to prove me wrong. For no one to buckle under the pressure of the killing game. But good endings like that only exist in stories. Reality was apathetic to what we wanted, and the events of today proved we were at its mercy. Okay. So I stood there at my podium, conflicted. To think this tragedy could have been avoided had people just listened to me. But who was it that encouraged everyone to turn on me? Who was it that encouraged everyone to trust each other? If Wolfgang had been so naive, if he had just told people to protect themselves rather than each other, then maybe he would still be here. Regardless, I can't let myself be consumed by the what-ifs. Although the others may have failed at preventing Wolfgang's murder, I, at the very least, can solve it. I'll uncover this killer, let them face the consequences of their actions. I'll solve this case and survive. Here we go! This drink had a lot of. Let me check the difficulty that I put. It's fine. Truly, it won't go so bad. Let's check the truth bullets real quick. I just need to remember. The music's very loud. I need to turn it down just a bit. Oh, that's already on the lowest volume. Okay, sure, whatever. Let's keep it at that. Okay, truth bullets. Blackout. At the time of Wolfgang's murder, Winona and Ulysses were by the giant tree. Winona does not recall a blackout happening. The same goes for Eloise, who spent her morning in the courtyard with Desmond. Blood spots. Drops of blood were scattered around the boiler room door. They were also scattered in the outside hallway. Boiler room doorknob. The door has been flipped so that the lock is now on the outside. There were burn marks all over Wolfgang's hands. The digital clock on Mark's DJ pad is frozen at 9:35 a.m. Mark believes the blackout caused some kind of internal damage to his DJ pad, and the clock is frozen on the time it last displayed before power was lost. A tattered extension cord floating in the water. There was no internal plug, only a free time. When Kai and I explored the storage closet C, we heard someone run past the closet. The footsteps sounded like they were moving away from the boiler room. Based on how soft the footsteps were, it can only be inferred the person was not wearing shoes. Game tournament timeline. Again at 9. And was attended by 8 people. Of those 8, 6 competed in the tournament. Kai, me, Jet, Cassidy, Jean, and Grace. Yeah, okay. Ava and Mark did not play. And so I'm sure the 8 people are innocent. So that cuts out a lot, which is good. Should be good. Half of the generator's wires were melted, and what remained intact had been completely singed. It's like a bomb went off inside the machine. Grace's testimony. Wolfgang was going to attend the tournament with Grace, but had to cancel this morning after waking up with a sore stomach. He encouraged Grace to attend the tournament with John instead. A knife found floating in the water and was missing from the kitchen. I discovered... What even is that? Is that wine? Is that alcohol? Oh yeah, it is alcohol. What kind of cereal is that? I want one. Chunks of unidentified material were floating in the water near the generator. I still don't know what this is for. A dusty rolling pin discovered inside storage closet A. On one end is a small dent. On the other, 2 very clear handprints. A murder happening and you're thinking about eating cereal, nothing ever changed. Okay. Get off my back, Josh. I mean, what's wrong with cereal? And so it's like 10 a.m. Ava and Grace are in closet A, Jen and Cassidy closet B, Kai and Damon closet C, John and Mark closet D. Suspicious note. Pretty big. Josh! Taser gun. I still don't know what Desmond meant with taper doors. 10 piece of metal. Looks like something to open the door, unlock a door. The ones that thieves use. Toshiko's testimony. Toshiko left the dorms before 8. She saw Wolfgang. Okay, I think I'm ready. It's okay, you guys. I'm gonna win. real, and finally I get to be quiet. Oh. I don't have to speak. Well, I have to speak the inner dialogue, but, you know, whatever.
Let's get this started, shall we?
4 hours?
Welcome back to the trial grounds, everyone. Unlike previously, today will be no circus. No mockery woven with stitches and needles. A true, fair, and proper trial will commence. A battle of wits between the blackened and the spotless. I doubt I have to explain the rules to you again. But even so,
5 hours.
you must vote for who you believe is the blackened.
Well, I'm very intelligent, so, like, I got this.
If the blackened receives
I'll
the
take this
majority
over
of
an hour,
votes,
that-
only they will be punished, and the rest of you will resume your killing game experience. However, if you vote for the wrong person, then expect no sympathy from your hosts. All spotless students will meet a tragic
Will you shut
end
up?
discussing. We pray for your survival and success.
Can someone please break this silence?
I don't want to talk about this.
Wolfgang deserves justice. But putting everyone's lives on the line like this is just cruel.
I agree.
Oh, crap. Without a lawyer, we're totally screwed. Whenever I turn my head, I keep expecting to see him at his podium.
Oh, don't cry, Toshiko. He's in a better place now, you hear?
Whichever one of you sick bastards did this, whatever it takes, no matter if I have to kick the brains out of every single person here, I'll find you.
Do you really gotta resort to violence?
Hey.
Let's just stay calm, okay? Making peace with our situation is, the first step in handling it. How the hell can I stay calm when there's a killer on the loose? That bastard is watching us right now, fully content putting our lives on the line. Is that what you call peace? Being at the mercy of some dickhead silent observer?
Well, nobody knows for sure if the killer is even a silent observer. If anything, the killer might try to feign innocence through other means. For instance, pretending to be outspoken about the case.
What the? Are you accusing me of something?
I mean, what you did during the investigation seems really suspicious.
Pretty fair.
What did Grace do?
She stood in front of Wolfgang's dorm room and wouldn't let anyone go inside. Intentionally or not, it really hindered our investigation.
Because of Grace, almost everyone who planned to investigate Wolfgang's dorm gave up and went elsewhere. It was only after some of us started protesting that she finally relented. You know, for someone who seems so adamant about finding Wolfgang's killer, it's odd she tried to conceal potential evidence.
That's a very valid point.
I'm not saying Grace is definitely the killer. I just think we should be cautious of her.
She has an alibi, though.
Huh?
Grace couldn't have murdered anyone, 'cause she went to the game tournament.
Yeah.
Grace attended the tournament?
Does that rule her out from committing the murder?
Well, yeah. We had to be at the dining hall by 9 a.m.-ish, which was like half an hour before the murder. Nobody left the tournament after it started either. Nobody I know of, anyway.
There weren't many of us there. Had someone disappeared, it would have been obvious.
So, Grace is off the hook? Wow. That plot thread resolved itself quicker than I was anticipating.
So Jean, Grace, and Kai attended Cassidy and Jet's game tournament. And me. And Mark.
Damon and I also attended the tournament. We can also vouch for Grace.
You guys aren't lying, are you?
Why? Why would we? About Grace?
What the heck? Are you seriously doubting 8 testimony?
If the 8 of you were really together when Wolfgang was discovered, then Kai, doesn't that contradict what you said before the investigation? You told everyone you and Damon found Wolfgang first. How is that possible if you guys never left the dining hall?
What happened here? Damon and me, we just found him like this.
I never said I didn't leave the dining hall.
But earlier you told us you were with the other attendees.
That's because us partygoers left the dining hall together.
When the blackout struck, the tournament folk joined arms and headed straight downstairs. I would know. I saw him.
There was a blackout?
You don't remember?
Actually, I don't recall a power outage either.
How could that be? Did an alternate timeline converge with ours?
What is it that some people can recall a blackout, but not others? Thinking back on the testimonies I've collected, I can probably make an educated guess. Why is it that some people can recall a blackout, but not others? Blackout affected one building.
I got it.
Yeah.
The reason not everyone experienced a blackout is because only the building containing our dorms was affected. If I had to guess, the courtyard and tree area are connected to separate power sources.
So the tournament attendees were affected, yet they left the dining hall? Why not stay put until the power returned?
Because we were the ones who brought it back. It didn't seem like the power was being restored anytime soon, so we took up the challenge of fixing it ourselves. And just our luck, boom! We found a spare generator lying in one of the storage closets. Of
My
course, then we
girl.
found Wolfgang.
Yeah. And now
She's right.
too.
The 8 of us split into 4 pairs and inspected a storage room each.
Because of the Tozu trinket map, we know which ones, too. Eva and Grace check storage closet A. Jet and I check storage closet B. Damon and Kai check storage closet C. And Jean and Mark check storage closet D.
Yeah, I was with Grace. She can confirm being with me, too. Yeah, we were together.
Oh, I didn't realize. I'm so sorry for what I said earlier.
Sorry? You're sorry for accusing me of murder. Sorry doesn't cut it, you conniving two-faced bitch! If you really want my mercy, then get on your knees and beg for it!
Whoa! Uncool, dude.
Hang on. Even if you aren't involved in Wolfgang's murder, you must know something about his last known whereabouts.
What makes you think she'd be privy to that?
Oh, she's
You
the
see,
roommate.
there's proof Grace spent last night with Wolfgang.
Like that kind of context.
Grace and Loya Man? Talk about an unexpected pairing.
When I investigated Wolfgang's room, I saw a bunch of golfing equipment inside. Also, there was a blue woman's jacket tossed over the mantle of Wolfgang's bed.
Ugh.
He's right. I also saw the equipment and the clothes.
The clothes are understandable, maybe. But why was golfing equipment in the room?
Yo, little history dude. Wolfgang must have spilled the beans with you, right?
Why would Ulysses know anything?
Common courtesy. If you're gonna have a one-night stand, you gotta let your roomie know in advance.
Common courtesy also says you should watch your mouth around children.
Yes, ma'am.
So if I'm getting this right, Ulysses is bunking with Wolfgang?
Well, we only shared a dorm for one night.
You aren't bunking with him anymore?
Let me provide some context. As you may remember, after Desmond suggested everyone bunk together, the male students were directed to the dining hall. Once there, we played rock, paper, scissors to determine who would partner with who. Jet partnered with Mark, Desmond with Jean, Damon with Kai, and I with Wolfgang. Those were the pairings at the time. However, the following day, Grace and I agreed to swap rooms.
Yeah? Why'd you do that?
For reasons.
Totally not suspicious.
It was a win-win situation. I get Grace out of my hair. She gets me out of hers.
You two were originally bunking together?
The pairings were decided via a game of tic-tac-toe.
Okay.
I wasn't big on my partner being chosen for me, so when the opportunity arose to change that, I took it.
Thus, I became Winona's roommate, and Grace became Wolfgang's.
Can confirm. I watched the whole thing play out.
Since the room swap happened the night after we implemented the bunk buddy system, that would mean Grace and Wolfgang have been bunking for about a day and a half. Ugh, gross.
In that case, Desmond was right about those two being together last night. Grace, did Wolfgang act strange at any point? Like, maybe he said something that stuck out to you, or, maybe had trouble getting to sleep.
No. Nothing weird happened last night. Nothing happened last night. But... The morning of the murder, this morning, Wolfgang told me he felt sick.
Sick?
With a stomachache. It hurt so bad he couldn't get out of bed. I was gonna cancel my plans for today, but he convinced me to attend the tournament. So, I left his room right after the morning announcement. And yes, I'm talking about the game tournament. The same one Wolfgang acted all hesitant about attending. Newsflash, I changed his mind after breakfast yesterday.
Hold on a sec. That ain't what you told me this morning.
What did Grace tell you?
Simply put, she felt like competing. Grace knew I planned to compete as well, so she asked me to be her sparring partner, since you needed one to enter the tournament.
She withheld information.
Aye, that she did. Of course, since I now know Wolfgang's condition at the time, I can't say I blame her. If someone you cared for was in a vulnerable position, would you go around and admit that in a killing game? No. You would try to protect that person by saying nothing at all.
When you put it that way, man, sounds rough.
I think it's obtuse.
Huh?
Say we assume the best of Grace. She withheld information not to trick anyone, but to protect someone she cares about. What then should we make of the glaring contradiction in her testimony?
The hell do you mean, contradiction?
If your bunking partner was too ill to make the short trek to the dining hall, how did he walk all the way to the boiler room?
Good point. If Wolfgang really were bedridden, he would have stayed in his room.
Now that you mention it, to reach the underground floor, wouldn't Wolfgang need to descend, 4 flights of stairs? It's nothing for a healthy person, but for a guy who's supposedly really sick...
It's not my fault it doesn't make sense. It's just what Wolfgang told me.
Yeah. Didn't we decide Grace wasn't the killer anyway?
That's not to say she doesn't know more than she's letting on.
I'm not withholding anything else. Leave me alone.
Is there more to the story than Grace is telling us? Too many people are letting their emotions cloud their judgment. I need to solve this mystery to set things straight. Oh god, where do I even begin? Toshiko! Yeah.
Why don't you tell everyone the truth, Grace?
I've got nothing else to explain. The last I saw Wolfgang, he was in our dorm room.
Okay, hear me out. Secret hallways.
No.
We would have found those by now.
Maybe Wolfgang was carried by the killer.
No.
That, or Wolfgang never told Grace he was sick.
I wouldn't lie about what he said.
What if Wolfgang used the elevator in the tree?
You're not helping.
There's a major discrepancy in Grace's testimony, but is she necessarily at fault for that?
Why don't you tell everyone the truth, Grace?
How do I slow down stuff? There's a slowdown? No.
I've got nothing else to explain. The last I saw Wolfgang, he was in our dorm room.
Okay, hear me out.
How do you...
Secret hallways.
Speed up, Ellie.
We would have found those by now. Maybe Wolfgang was carried by the killer.
That, or Wolfgang never told Grace.
Maybe Grace has some kind of reason.
How? If anything, telling you the truth.
Swear, I understood the case.
Why don't you tell everyone the truth, Grace?
I've got nothing else to explain.
Secret hallways.
No.
Found those by now.
No.
Wolfgang never told Grace he was sick.
I wouldn't lie about what he said.
What if Wolfgang used the elevator in the tree?
You're not helping.
What am I supposed I can figure this out. I'm smart. I can do this.
Why don't you tell everyone the truth, Grace?
I've got nothing else to explain. The last I saw Wolfgang, he was in our dorm room.
What is this? What does Tozu tablet have to do with anything? No way I'm agreeing
We
to
would
what
have
Cassidy's
found those
saying.
by now.
Maybe Wolfgang was carried by the killer.
That, or Wolfgang never told Grace he was sick.
I wouldn't lie about what he said.
What if Wolfgang used the elevator in the tree?
You're not helping.
What am I supposed to go for? Do I contradict Diana?
Why don't you tell everyone the truth, Grace?
We would have found those by now.
Maybe Wolfgang was carried by the killer.
That, or Wolfgang never told Grace he was sick.
What if Wolfgang used the elevator in the tree?
You're not helping.
Why don't you tell everyone the truth, Grace?
We would have found those by now.
Maybe Wolfgang was carried by the killer.
No.
That, or Wolfgang never told Grace he was sick.
Try?
I wouldn't
I
lie
missed.
about what.
Oh my, I missed.
Why don't you tell everyone the truth, Grace?
I've got nothing else to explain.
This has to be it. The game tournament. Yeah, it has to be it. Yeah? Yeah. It has to be.
Always.
No.
We would have found those by now.
This is wasting so much time.
That, or Wolfgang never told Grace he was sick.
Oh,
Maybe Grace has.
How? If
I don't think she. That's the right.
Why don't you tell everyone the truth, Grace?
So much time.
I've got nothing else to explain. The last I saw Wolfgang.
Where's Diana? Where's Diana? Where's Diana?
We would have found those by now.
Maybe Wolfgang was carried by the killer.
Mid this?
If Wolfgang...
Why don't you tell
I'm so
everyone the truth,
confused.
Grace?
I'm so confused. I need help already. The first thing, we're already starting off. This is a bad start. What am I messing up on? Okay. Game tournament. That confidence that I had, like, that disappeared. That faded a long time ago. It wasn't carried. This one first try not so bad. Okay, sure. Well, what am I so... am I using the right truth bullet? No. Toshiko's. I'm still turning this around. Ooh.
Why don't you tell everyone the truth, Grace?
I'm so good. I did this for the first time. Shh. No one saw anything.
Secret hallways.
No one saw anything.
We would have found those by now. Maybe Wolfgang was carried by the killer.
No, that's wrong!
See, I did get it right.
It's true Grace's testimony is inconsistent
No
with where
need
we
of
found
help.
Wolfgang's body. But that's not Grace's fault. The only person we should be blaming is Wolfgang himself.
What the heck? Why are you blaming him?
Simple. Because he lied about being sick.
Seriously?
You can cooperate. Can't you, Toshiko? During the investigation, you told me you saw Wolfgang in the hallways at 8:10 a.m.
That's after I left.
Yes. I remember now. Ingrid. She developed a headache, so I went to the pharmacy to find some medication. The trip itself went fine, but when I returned to the hallway, I found myself face to face
With Wolfgang?
Hold the phone! Toshiko actually saw Wolfgang?
We had a normal, pleasant exchange. He appeared perfectly healthy and even mentioned going to the tournament. Of course, he never made it.
I don't want to be that guy, but can anyone confirm this?
I heard them chatting a while in my room. Though I was bedridden like a sitting ghost, I could still make out their voices here and there.
Strange. He told Grace he wouldn't attend the tournament, but
Sounds like he was telling fibs to conceal his actual intentions.
Sorry, Ulysses. What did he say? Can I press this?
strange. He told Grace he wouldn't attend the tournament, but then said the opposite to Toshiko.
And what's his true plan supposed to be?
To go to the boiler room. Most likely.
I'm lost. What business would a guy like him have down there?
Why did Wolfgang go into the boiler room? That I can also answer. What? I guess that note? This? Sure.
This is it. During the investigation, I found this note tucked away inside Wolfgang's blazer pocket. A lot of it is water damaged. The paper looks like it was ripped from a notebook, and the handwriting was done in ink, but some parts are still legible.
Secret. 8:15 a.m. Boiler room. Close the door.
This mentions the boiler room.
Exactly. The fact we found Wolfgang in the boiler room, and this note in his pocket, it can't be a coincidence. This note must be the reason Wolfgang went there.
That mention of a secret sure is suspicious. I'm willing to bet Wolfie's reason had something to do.
Agreeing to meet a
Oh my
stranger
God.
in some spooky, dark place? Wolfgang had nerves of steel.
Ulysses, Grace, do you remember Wolfgang getting delivered a weird note?
No. The only time I recall him receiving anything was when Tozu distributed those envelopes.
I don't know anything about a note.
Really? Wolfgang shared nothing with you guys?
Guess he didn't want them to know what it said.
Right. And if Wolfgang wanted to keep this note a secret, he would obviously want to keep the meeting a secret too.
Then the reason he told Grace he felt sick
Was to remove her from the picture. Yeah, once she's not in the room, Wolfgang has his opportunity to sneak out and head downstairs. That's also why he encouraged her to attend the tournament.
Didn't this same guy ask us to share our blackmail with each other? Talk about double standards.
Are we sure he wasn't just trying to protect Grace? Maybe he knew he was meeting someone dangerous, so he thought it would be safer not to involve her.
That does sound like something Wolfgang would do.
Not to interrupt, but on the subject of blackmail, did Wolfgang ever confront the person he had?
Oh? You don't know whose blackmail he got?
Well, if you recall what Wolfgang said originally.
For that reason, I implore you all to speak with the person whose blackmail you have, and them only. Even if the contents of the envelope seem horrible, give the person a chance to explain themselves.
Regardless of the blackmail's contents, it would be treated as a matter between the recipient and the subject of the blackmail, and no one else. Which makes me wonder, could whether or not Wolfgang confronted his person clue us into what had originally been written on that note?
I'm not picking up what you're putting down.
If that person somehow realized Wolfgang carried their blackmail, but never came forward about it, they could have demanded Wolfgang show it to them, hence the mention of a secret. However, if Wolfgang did confront his person, I don't see why that same person would then send him a threatening note. Not least act coy about information they both know.
If the person being blackmailed wasn't the one who wrote the note, who was?
Obviously, it would be the student with Wolfgang's blackmail.
Oh, I knew that.
Yes, the secret in question may actually be a reference to Wolfgang's blackmail, not the sender's.
Is there any way to figure out whose secret it is?
We'd probably need to know whose blackmail Wolfgang had first.
Oh, I've got just the idea. Yo! Person who Wolfgang had blackmail on! If he gave you your blackmail back, can you say something?
Don't forget the person with Wolfgang's blackmail.
Oh, right.
Oh, yeah, that.
Hey! Person who's got Wolfgang's blackmail!
Hola!
If you're innocent, say something already!
If I'm innocent, I should say something. Would telling everyone I have Wolfgang's blackmail really guarantee my innocence in their eyes? I don't know. Although everyone may follow my direction during the trial, since they can't ignore the evidence on my side, when it comes to me, of all people, owning Wolfgang's blackmail, how do I know they won't suddenly change their tune? They might chastise me for not revealing his blackmail sooner, or maybe they'll think I'm confessing and accuse me of murdering him. It's not like I wouldn't be able to refute their arguments, but I do really want to subject myself to all... But do I really want to subject myself to all that? Does the trajectory of this trial really depend on whether or not...
I was hesitant to admit it, since I knew it would put me on the spot. But I'd rather be suspected than be the reason this trial comes to a standstill.
Are you confessing? Do you have Wolfgang's blackmail?
Nah, not his.
Seriously? Way to be anticlimactic.
However, it's thanks to him that I have my own.
Your own?
Wolfgang approached me the same day everyone received an envelope.
Oh.
Funnily enough, it happened right after I'd finished speaking with my own person. He and we had a good talk. He gave me his envelope and asked me to take care of it, if you need the proof.
Ah, Wolfgang's envelope had the same signature.
Aye. I held on to the letter for safekeeping. This should have all been said sooner. I realized that. I suppose my pride was stronger than my rectitude. My mistake for stringing everyone along.
I mean, at least you're honest.
Truth! Thanks for letting us know, bud.
Indeed. To acknowledge one's own misdoings is a most virtuous feat, I believe.
Right. It's very noble.
If I revealed my blackmail right now, would everyone here treat me the same? Would they be just as forgiving?
I take it our other blackmail person isn't gonna step forward?
If nothing happens, let's just have everyone recite whose blackmail they got one by one.
Huh? You sure that's a good idea?
No one's reciting shit!
It was only a suggestion. Calm your farm.
Even if we knew who had Wolfgang's blackmail, that doesn't necessarily mean they're his killer. It's annoying they won't speak up, sure, but unlike John, they would actually need to reveal Wolfgang's blackmail to prove they have it. This person might just want to respect Wolfgang's request to keep the blackmail between two people, especially now that he's gone.
I don't know. Is it really okay if we never find out?
Circumstantial evidence alone can't prove something beyond a reasonable doubt. If we want to solve this case, we need indisputable evidence.
Yeah. It's like doing a jigsaw puzzle without the box art to help you.
The cases, or...
Obviously, the case. The more pieces you connect, the clearer the image you're constructing becomes. The clearer the image, the more you can assume about it. Do you see what I'm saying? Once we know how Wolfgang died, the rest of this case should fall into place.
You certainly talk a lot stranger than you used to. But I think I get it.
Well, I don't want to be the one to start, but we can all agree Wolfgang was stabbed to death, right?
Stabbed to death?
When I was in the boiler room, I saw a knife bobbing around in the water near him. And on the ground, there was blood. Dried blood on the boiler room floor and on the hallway floor.
That's gotta be Wolfgang's blood, right?
The knife was bloody, so...
Seems like a brawl happened in the hallway.
Looked a little too clean, though.
While poor Wolfie was minding his own business, he was confronted by the killer.
It wasn't that
who
clean.
attacked him and chased him into the boiler room.
That would line up with how we found him.
A killer stabbed Wolfgang in the hallway, then followed him into the boiler room? No, that's not what happened. I need to show everyone where they're gone wrong. What? Oh, God, okay. Let's go. Was Wolfgang's hands. Okay.
Is this really how you guys think Wolfgang died?
The bloody knife is way too big of a coincidence. It was floating in the water right next to him.
Not just that. There's blood on the boiler room floor and along the underground hallway.
A confrontation must have happened in those hallways.
Nah, it was probably a sneak attack. The killer snuck up on Wolfgang, stabbed him from behind, and the rest is history.
With that knife-wielding villain on his tail, Wolfgang had no other place to run but the boiler room.
So, the killer entered the boiler room after him, which was when they, ended it.
It all makes sense.
Whatever story they're trying to spin here, it's definitely not the truth. I can conclude as much from the crime scene.
Is this really how you guys think Wolfgang died?
Go to Jet.
The bloody knife is way too big of a coincidence. It was floating in the water right next to him.
I think.
Not just that. There's blood on the boiler room floor.
Sure.
And along the underground hallway. A confrontation must have happened in those hallways.
Somewhere else.
Yeah, it was
Probably a sneak attack. The killer snuck up on Wolfgang, stabbed him from behind.
Is this really how you guys think Wolfgang died?
The bloody knife is way too big of a coincidence. It was floating in the water right next to him.
This one?
Not just that. There's blood on the boiler room floor. And along the underground hallway. A confrontation must have happened in those hallways.
I'm so good at
It was probably a sneak attack. The killer snuck up on Wolfgang, stabbed him from behind.
Wait. Hold on. Hold the phone. Where is it? Oh, it doesn't say anything about that. What was the other one? I was literally holding it.
And the rest is history.
Blood spots.
With that knife-wielding villain on his tail, Wolfgang...
Blood spots. Where's the blood spots? Yeah. Okay.
Had no other place to run but the boiler room.
Let's
So,
try
the killer
again.
entered the boiler room after him. Which was when they, ended it.
Is this really
how you guys think Wolfgang died? The bloody knife is way too big of a coincidence. It was floating in the water right next to him. Not just that, there's blood on the boiler room floor. And along the underground hallway. A confrontation must have happened in those hallways.
No.
Yeah, it was probably a sneak attack.
Yeah.
The killer snuck up on Wolfgang, stabbed him from behind.
Is this really how you guys think Wolfgang died?
The bloody knife is way too big of a coincidence. It was floating in the water right next to him.
With this one.
Not just that, there's blood on the boiler room floor. And
Along the underground hallway.
a confrontation must have happened in those hallways.
Temptation?
Nah, it was probably a sneak attack. The killer snuck up on Wolfgang, stabbed him from behind.
Oh,
No, that's wrong!
Picked the wrong truth bullet. I'm so smart.
Jet, you talk a lot about the knife and the bloodstains on the floor, but did you ever look at Wolfgang himself?
I gave him a glance. Nothing too deep.
I figured. Had you actually taken the time to look at Wolfgang's back, you would have noticed a clear absence of stab wounds. In fact, none of the injuries he sustained were the type to cause severe blood loss. Seriously. We went over the same thing with Cassidy during the mock trial. Couldn't you give Wolfgang the dignity of a proper investigation?
Hey, man! It's not like I didn't try! It's just... this stuff doesn't come easy, you know? Nobody wakes up thinking they'll have to solve their buddy's murder later.
Isn't that exactly what you should be worrying about in a killing game?
Not everyone has the stomach for investigating. That's fine. That's why you got people like me to do the heavy lifting. Since some of us here weren't able to investigate Wolfgang's body, I'll lay out his injuries. There were 2 marks on the back of his neck, a bruise, and a tiny red dot. His hands were burnt too, so 3 injuries in total. Besides that, I caught nothing else.
Burns, you said?
Junior high, my dear Wilson. The killer used a flamethrower.
These didn't look like normal burns. Not the sort you'd get from a stove fire, or a hot iron, or a flamethrower, I suppose.
Contradicting my theory outright? Jeez. So this is the thanks I get for vocalizing my thoughts?
Sorry, lass.
John doesn't want. Yes, he does. Oh my god, you're just mad jealous.
Yes, if I may add on to what John said. The burns actually bore a strong resemblance to what you might see in cases of coronal paralysis.
What the fuck is that?
Chiaro... Huh?
Ooh, now this I know. Coronal paralysis. It's something which happens to lightning strike victims. Getting struck by lightning is like getting kicked by a horse. The impact is so shocking. Some people will lose all feeling in their limbs for a few hours.
I was aware of lightning paralysis, but even I didn't know its official name. That's a nice head you've got on your shoulders.
Lots of people tend to overlook the importance of lightning safety, especially where I'm from.
That's concerning.
My grandpappy once tried working out in the open during a thunderstorm. Pure luck's the only reason he lived to see the next day.
Sorry to hear that and all, but what does lightning have to do with anything?
Well, if I had to guess, Ulysses, did it look like a big old tree was drawn on Wolfie?
A big old tree. Yes, that's how I would describe the burns on Wolfgang.
So Wolfgang had lightning strike scars?
We're trapped inside a building, though. Lightning can't come from anywhere.
Not from electricity in the water.
Could he not have been struck before the killing game? Fate is stronger than will, you know. Perhaps the deity decreed the glow of his altruism from their heavenly abode and felt him a threat.
Nay, those burns were fresh. One look was all it took for me to know that. If he had these scars before, we would have noticed them anyway.
But if those marks were recently inflicted, wouldn't it mean Wolfgang somehow went outside?
How do you unpin this? How do you unpin this message? This is so rude and I don't support it. No, I don't. Let me just... Put a pin. Oh, I'm on my phone. I can't do that.
Not necessarily. This is only something I thought of just now, but the reason Wolfgang sustained burns similar to that of lightning strike victims may be because whatever inflicted his burns was equivalent in damage to a lightning strike.
You saying there's something out here channeling the power of lightning?
Zeus. Something equivalent in damage to a lightning strike. The idea sounds ridiculous, but when I think back on the boiler room and what was inside it, right, if I take that object into consideration, Ulysses' theory starts to hold some weight. Spot selection. The water, or is it this? Yes.
This is it. Ulysses, since you write everything down, do you have a description of the boiler room in your notebook?
Yes, I do. Why?
Since some people here never investigated the crime scene, they probably aren't as familiar with the room as we are. So, you should read out your description of it.
The boiler room consists of a small concrete platform surrounded by ankle-deep water. Throughout the room are boxes filled with various garbage, and in the back looks to be a generator, charred beyond belief. What you just heard is a brief summary of my notes.
Hear that? There's a generator inside the boiler room. Of all the things which could deal similar damage to a lightning strike, doesn't a generator sound the most likely?
Didn't Ulysses say it was destroyed?
At the time of the investigation, sure. But it wasn't always destroyed. You probably don't remember. But back when we found the dummy, I mentioned something about the underground floor.
Dining hall people. You were in this building before. Tell us what's going on. Yeah, why didn't you mention this other girl? The hell? I never even saw her. Huh? You were there too, bargain bin? There's a floor below us. That's where I woke up.
To be more specific, it was the boiler room I woke up inside. I hadn't been alone either. Ava was also there.
I woke up first.
Yeah. She did. Anyway, Ava, you agree the generator was in full working condition when we woke up, right?
Right.
So in the time since you woke up there, the generator was destroyed?
It's the only possibility.
I can put this on auto. Hold on.
As for what destroyed the generator, well, it's hard to say for sure. My best guess would probably be...
Don't waste my time. Two things.
What the hell?
Destroyed is overly vague. Ulysses explained the state of the generator much better. Charred beyond belief. Second, and more importantly, where's your proof the generator inflicted those burns?
What are you talking about? The generator must be involved. It's near where Wolfgang is lying.
Being within range of something counts as proof now, does it? Do you also consider happenstance as conclusive evidence? Funny how to...
That's...
Oh, sorry. Damn it. She's trying to make me look like an idiot. If I let this continue, the others might start to doubt me. I need to stop her before she... No, don't be on auto mode. Yeah, not just like that. No, I don't... Oh, God. And my mouse is barely even working, so like... Rebuttal showdown. Switch out the counter down. Oh. How am I supposed to slice this? I don't know. Okay. Sure. So keeping on and letting This is not gonna go well.
While the generator may look suspicious, Consider the time frame we're working with.
How do you
If the
aim?
only time you saw the generator in full working condition was on the day of our kidnapping, that gives us a period of almost 4 days, in which the generator might have been destroyed.
What about the blackout? It's impossible for the generator to cause the blackout if it was already broken prior to the tournament.
What about the blackout? The building may very well have lost its power at any point before or after the murder. You only assume it happened during it. Not the smartest argument from a supposed ultimate debater.
No, the blackout is definitely connected to Wolfgang's death. There's certainly a certain piece of evidence which proves the two events are correlated.
What about the blackout? The building may very well have lost its power at any point before or after the murder.
I'll cut through those words!
That's your lucky guess. The scroll was not working.
When the blackout happened, it froze a piece of equipment which had been set up for the game tournament. Mark's DJ pad.
Hey.
While there was no physical clock inside the dining hall, a digital one has been built into Mark's pad. If you look at what time the digital clock is frozen on, it matches the time of death listed on the tablet, 9:35 a.m.
Well, Mark, is this true?
There's no point in me saying anything when someone else has already said it better.
Just answer with a yes or no, will you?
Yes.
In any case, the matching times are too much of a coincidence. The destruction of the generator caused the blackout, and the blackout occurred at the time of the murder. There's no way the destruction of the generator wasn't tied to Wolfgang's death.
What do you suppose happened then?
I'm willing to bet the generator's destruction resulted in the boiler room's water becoming electrified. Since Wolfgang was discovered kneeling in the water, we can reason he was standing in it at the time this happened and...
Damon, you and I both know that's not true.
Huh?
Did you forget? It's impossible for the water in the boiler room to play a role in Wolfgang's murder, because it isn't even conductive.
It's not?
After Damon and I woke up in the boiler room, I wanted to investigate the flooded area. So, I tested the water.
Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Ava approach the pile of boxes and fish out a light bulb. Then, without hesitation, she chucked it into the water.
I even redid my test during the investigation, since Damon wasn't sure if he should touch Wolfgang's wet clothes. In both instances, I proved the water was safe to enter. To be honest, neither result really surprised me. Water will only act as a conductor if it makes contact with two separate energy sources. The boiler room's generator is just one source.
If you're standing in the water, one outlet should be enough. Speaking from experience, large bodies of water are terrifying conductors during storms. All it takes is one lightning bolt, and the surrounding miles are scorched.
But the generator is a slow, persistent source of electricity. It's not the same as a lightning strike.
Electricity is electricity. Doesn't matter how it manifests. The reason you two avoided electrocution is because the generator's exposed wires aren't even touching the water. If they were, you would have been scorched right from the start.
Maybe when the generator was destroyed, some of the wiring fell into the water?
Nah. Even in its current sorry state, the generator's wires are nowhere near the water.
Don't worry, Josh, I'll be there for Josh's next top model.
It doesn't make sense for the generator to pose a danger anyway.
I will be tuning in.
The point of the killing game is for the students to kill each other, not for the facility to kill the students. A feature of the building killing a student would be a meaningless death because you can't attribute a student killer to it.
As for why the generator's been charred, sometimes electrical faults happen. Even my ship's engines have broken under particularly relentless storms. And if an electrical fault caused Wolfgang's death, then his murder is purely on the hosts, ain't it?
Of course! If we were responsible for his death, you lot wouldn't be here discussing it!
Is the generator really unrelated to the case? But the timing of the blackout is too perfect. It can't be a coincidence.
Okay, since we've ruled out the generator, what else could have electrocuted Wolfgang?
It mightn't be relevant, but I did see one other thing on the boiler room floor. A toy gun or something. At least, that's how it came across to me.
Not a toy gun, a taser gun.
A taser? I'll shoot electricity!
I'm not sure how the taser fits in with this case, though. It doesn't seem to have been used.
Nope. The taser was definitely used.
How so? I didn't catch any sort of string protruding from it.
Not all taser guns release a string when fired. Some are completely wireless. For those types, you can tell they've been used if their blast doors are missing. Side note, blast doors are plastic panels which cover the muzzle of a taser. If a shot is fired, they pop clean off. When I was investigating the crime scene, I found the taser gun in one spot and its blast doors in another. Speaks for itself, yeah?
And here I was thinking the yellow bits were just random trash.
Where the heck did a taser gun even come from? Last time I checked, there weren't any lying around in the storage closets.
Maybe it belongs to someone here.
Huh?
Just think about it for 1 second. Everyone here has a dorm room which is themed around their talent. Mine's got DJ equipment. Jet's got car batteries. If that's what we have with our talents, what could someone with a dangerous talent have?
Are you talking about, like, knives and stuff?
Girl.
What? Is there something on my face?
Forget this. The person I'm talking about is Desmond.
Huh? No way! You think the gun is Desmond's?
Yeah.
Hang on. You've got it all mixed up.
Jean, do you know anything about this? As Desmond's roommate, perhaps you spotted something inside his dorm.
Alas, we stayed in my abode. I couldn't tell you if he had weapons.
Talk about suspicious.
Did Desmond agree to bunk in Jean's dorm so Jean wouldn't see the weapons in his?
Listen, I get where you guys are coming from, but that taser gun, it's not mine. I've never seen anything like it.
No, that's a lie.
A lie?
His attempt to feign innocence won't fool me. Not when I know the truth. What? What proves Desmond is lying? His talent.
A marksman is obviously going...
Like I said.
The blackmail?
I got it. The blackmail Tozu gave us. That's my evidence.
You didn't get mine, did you?
No. But the person who did informed me of what it said.
With his weapons at hand, Desmond guards the only one he trusts.
The writing style seems to match. I think it's legit.
That's more than a little suspicious, don't you think? Leaving a bunch of weapons unguarded during a killing game?
Don't judge me. This is the first time I'm hearing of it too.
You didn't know there were weapons in your room?
Yep, no idea.
Our rooms aren't particularly subtle in their theming. Are we supposed to believe yours is any different?
It is themed. I'm not denying that. But I sure as hell didn't catch sight of any weapons. If I did, do you seriously think I'd leave them unguarded and risk being found out?
Yeah. Desmond cares too much about everyone. He pointed out the broken doorknobs and gave us the idea to bunk together. Why would he hide weapons in his room?
Someone must have gotten the idea to rifle through my dorm because of my talent and found the taser gun hidden inside. There's no other way to explain it.
Alright, Demon Tears.
So while Desmond gets a bunch of guns, all I get is an old game console and a dead controller.
Take the bad with the good, dearest pupil. No one fears game consoles. Well, no one besides parents and the religiously inclined.
Enough talking about consoles! Why are you guys believing Desmond so easily? If the taser gun belongs to him, then he's the killer. any argument he makes against it is just a flimsy excuse.
Oh god. Oh no, not again.
Desmond is the killer.
No.
The taser gun came from his
No
room.
way.
I had no idea the gun even existed. I was barely in my dorm to begin with.
Because you wanted to draw attention away from your weapons hoard.
But
Where'd she go? Where's she go? Did she ever mention? Doesn't know.
If this is about avoiding suspicion, why did Desmond say the taser gun was fired? I don't think a killer would draw attention to their own murder weapon.
I was with Desmond.
I call it reverse psychology.
Uh,
You sprinkle in a little helpfulness, and suddenly everyone trusts you.
When the murder happened,
is Desmond innocent? When I compare everyone's statements.
Desmond is the killer!
Oh, he changed the bullet. So,
The taser gun came from his room.
I had no idea the gun even existed. I was barely in my dorm to begin with.
Because you wanted to draw attention away from your weapons hoard.
but
If this is about avoiding suspicion, why did Desmond say the taser gun was fired? I don't think a killer would draw attention to their own murder weapon.
I was with Desmond.
yeah.
I call it reverse psychology. You sprinkle in a little helpfulness, and suddenly everyone trusts you.
When the murder happened,
The blackout. What did the blackout do? What time? Yeah, okay.
I had no idea the gun even existed. I was barely in my dorm to begin with. Because you wanted to draw attention away from your weapons hoard.
If this
About avoiding suspicion, why did Desmond say the taser gun was fired? I don't think a killer would draw attention to their own murder weapon.
I
was with Desmond.
There we go.
I got it.
Regardless of whether or not Desmond knew about the gun, he definitely wasn't involved in the murder. Eloise can back me up on this.
Right. Desmond and I, we were together in the courtyard at the time of Wolfgang's death.
I see. Then both of you can be ruled out as suspects.
Don't just take her word for it. She could be covering for Desmond.
Jeez, if you have a bone to pick with these guys, at least save it for when we're not solving a murder!
Yeah! Why don't you want to believe Eloise?
Ever since the investigation, these two yuppies have been on my case non-stop. They're obviously working together.
Not gonna lie, I see where Grace is coming from. When Eloise tried to single her out earlier, Desmond was pretty quick to...
Even so, since the topic has been brought up, I would like to mention something. During my trip to the pharmacy, I believe I saw Desmond and Eloise in the courtyard together.
You also said you were back in the hallways around 8-10 a.m., didn't you? That means those two were wandering around unsupervised. Either one of them could have left the courtyard.
If Desmond was the killer, what would Eloise gain from defending him? Should the wrong vote be cast, nothing about the rules suggests an accomplice of the killer would be exempt from execution.
That's right! And even if she was exempt, Eloise is too nice to be an accomplice to murder.
Grace, I realize Desmond's irked you, but that's no reason to keep steering everyone down a dead end. Let's move on.
A person who's always steering others down a dead end, huh? I guess they needed a GPS. Anyway, we should totally thank Desmond for clearing things up now. Not only do we know he's not the killer, now we know how the killer got their hands on the taser.
Now we know how... What?
Someone must have gotten the idea to rifle through my dorm because of my talent, and found the taser gun hidden inside.
Yup, that is word for word what Desmond said.
Right. Good memory.
All in a day's work, baby!
Can you repeat that quote, Cassidy?
Again? But I just said it.
Yeah, but I want you to say it again.
Alright. Someone must have gotten the idea to rifle through my dorm because of my talent and found the taser gun hidden inside.
Is there something on your mind?
If Desmond's testimony is anything to go by, then wouldn't this mean the culprit has to be male?
What?
If I remember correctly, all the guys were aware of each other's pairings. With that sort of knowledge, a male student could try and infiltrate another male student's dorm.
None of us knew which room we'd be bunking in.
It only takes a quick peek to check if someone's inside or not. Anyone could have done that.
And who's to say the thief didn't barge in before we started bunking?
Or while people were having breakfast.
Seems there was a mountain of opportunities for our culprit to sneak in unnoticed. Doesn't exactly help us narrow things down, does it?
Well, guess this taser gun was a bust.
Look on the bright side. If it's been fired, then it's probably what electrocuted Wolfie. If trying to suss out who stole it isn't feasible, why don't we, talk about Wolfie's other injuries instead? You know, the ones that weren't burn marks? Those seem like they could lead us somewhere.
Yeah. Besides the burns on his hands, Wolfgang also had a bruise and a tiny red dot on the back of his neck.
A bruise and a tiny dot, huh? Want to try tackling them in alphabetical order?
Alphabetical order? Now, aren't you full of smart ideas?
No need to thank me. It's only common sense.
Okay, let's discuss the bruise first.
Another one. I agree, I don't want Cassidy to die either. She's so
I think it's safe to say the killer didn't use a flamethrower. Maybe Wolfgang got into a fight? Someone might have attacked him and aimed for his neck.
If you can even reach that high.
Yeah, you need to
Either way, something must have hit him.
What if Wolfie fell over?
No.
With how spindly he is, one tiny misstep could leave the poor fella bruised for days.
Skinny guys bruise easily, eh? Let's see if you're right. Ulysses, fall over.
No, thank you.
Something must have caused that bruise on Wolfgang's neck. What could have been? It's the...
I think it's safe to say
the steel rolling pin, and I'm gonna go high.
Maybe Wolfgang got into a fight? Someone might have attacked him. And aimed for his neck.
I need her to survive.
Either way, something must have hit him.
What the?
What?
I have to reach.
How spindly he is, one tiny misstep.
It literally
could leave the poor fella bruised for days.
like just swung.
No, thank you.
Some of the text is not texting.
I think it's safe to
Maybe Wolfgang got into a fight? Someone might have attacked him.
and aimed for his neck.
If you can even reach that high.
Either way,
something must have hit him.
I missed!
I got it.
There we go.
Kai is right. Something did hit Wolfgang.
Really? Man. And I was only blurting out the first thing which came to mind. Anyway, from how you're wording things, do you know what that something is?
A rolling pin. Wolfgang was hit with a rolling pin.
How on earth did you reach that conclusion?
Ava and I found this pin inside storage closet A, which is just a few feet from the crime scene. Coincidentally, the pin also has a dent.
You sure that's enough to say it's involved? Could just be a flimsy pin.
No. There's something else which solidifies this pin's role in the murder. Handprints. 2 of them on the edge of the pin.
So the killer used a rolling pin to attack Wolfgang?
It certainly explains the bruising on his neck.
They must have wanted him to be unconscious so he wouldn't fight back.
Exactly. It would be easier to drag him into the water if he's not awake.
You reckon the killer purposely put Wolfie in the water?
Bam! With one electrified blow, Wolfgang is zapped to bits with the taser! Since he's lying in the water, he's definitely a goner.
Considering the logical ethos of the killer's rectitude, especially when governed under constricting pressure, leaving him catatonic would be the most facile solution.
For a 14-year-old, you sure have a wide vocabulary, Toshiko.
I guess it makes sense.
Oh, I did not read that. If I figure that out, I'll be one step closer to solving this case, and it's another step. Storage closets.
So let me get this straight. The killer knocked out Wolfgang with a rolling pin, and then chucked the pin into closet A?
When exactly did they discard the pin?
They couldn't have done it when Eva and I were already downstairs, because the 2 of us went inside closet A.
Why were you inside the closet?
To find the backup generator, remember? Jet and I checked closet B. Damon and Kai checked closet C. Eva and Grace checked closet A. And Jean and Mark checked closet D.
The killer just discarded the pin. Before we came downstairs.
Yeah, I think Mark's right.
No.
'Cause the killer could run upstairs
No,
and go back to their
it's-
room
No!
immediately after discarding the pin.
No way!
So let me get this straight.
The killer knocked out Wolfgang with a rolling pin.
I think I got
and then
it.
checked the pin into closet A?
Oh, wait, I could be so wrong. That would be so embarrassing if I get it wrong.
They couldn't have done it when Eva and I were already downstairs, because the 2 of us went inside closet A. And why were you inside the closet? To find the backup generator, remember? Jen and I checked closet B. Damon and Kai checked closet C. Eva and Grace checked closet A. And Jean and Mark checked closet D.
The killer just discarded the pin. Before we came downstairs.
Yeah.
Leave me.
So let me get this straight.
The killer knocked out Wolfgang with a rolling pin.
Diana.
And then chucked the pin into closet A? When exactly did they discard the pin? They couldn't have done it when Eva and I were already downstairs, because the 2 of us went inside closet A. And why were you inside the closet? To find the backup generator, remember? Jen and I checked closet B. Damon and Kai checked closet C. Eva and Grace checked closet A. And Jean and Mark checked closet D. The killer just discarded the pin.
Before we came downstairs.
Yeah, I think
Mark's right.
'cause the killer could run upstairs and go back to their room immediately after discarding the pin.
Yeah.
No, that's wrong!
Okay. It took twice.
Diana, there's proof the killer fled the underground hallway at a later time, when the tournament attendees were looking for a backup generator. Kai and I heard someone run past our room.
Huh?
Oh man, that's right! We were just exploring the closet when all of a sudden we heard footsteps in the hallway. That's when Damon decided he was gonna follow where the footsteps came from and entered the boiler room.
Did anyone else hear these footsteps?
Nope. Not ringing any bells.
Yeah, Jet and me didn't really hear it over all our talking.
I heard the footsteps.
Huh? You did?
Well, I initially thought it was my imagination, so I never said anything.
Ashamed to say I also brushed off the footsteps. Thought I was hearing things. However, since other people can attest to hearing them.
Then someone else was on the underground floor with us.
Before anyone tries to bring it up, none of the tournament attendees could have been the person running.
Night, demon tears.
Since everyone explored the closets in pairs, they all have solid alibis.
I'm sure we can all vouch for that, aye?
Everyone was still in their closets after Damon and I found Wolfgang. So,
considering the footsteps were moving away from the crime scene, I think it's safe to say they belong to the killer.
Wouldn't that mean the killer fled while you guys were exploring the rooms?
Hold up! So the killer had been right next to us?
Doy, that's a given.
Huh? How are you so calm after hearing that? The only thing which stood between us and a murderer was a door. What if they attacked us?
Well, they didn't, so I don't see what the problem is.
Sheesh, you're weird.
Why not run away earlier, though? Fleeing while everyone is searching seems really risky.
Maybe it was a miscalculation?
It's not impossible, I guess.
If not that, then maybe the killer returned to the boiler room after discarding the pin?
Sounds pretty meat-headed if you ask me.
Yes, you'd think a killer would use that moment to run away.
For the two who heard the footsteps, describe the sound.
It was kinda socky. As in, it sounded pretty soft. Like the person had taken off their shoes.
Saki, huh? Seems this killer was purposefully trying to keep quiet.
'Cause their footsteps were soft?
That seems like a leap in logic.
No, I get what she's saying. Everyone here has socks on, I'm pretty sure. So any one of us could have run down the hallway. The thing with shoes is, not everyone here has the same kind. If the killer had worn theirs, we might have been able to figure out their footwear from the sound it made on the floor. Then we just have to single out the person with that footwear. Man, it would have been so easy to find the killer.
We already can find the killer, though.
What?
Oi, are you pulling our leg?
I'm completely serious. Picture a map of the building complex in your head. The building with the dorms is on the left, the courtyard is in the middle, and the building with the tree is on the right. Now, try and pin everyone's locations during Wolfgang's murder. Once you do that, the identity of the killer will definitely become clear.
Is the killer someone whose position we can't place?
No, it's not about position.
Eh?
Wolfgang's killer can easily lie about their location during the murder. The only thing distinguishing their testimony from everyone else's is that theirs can't be corroborated.
Diana was alone. Diana? She's the only person.
It has to be you!
No!
Diana, it's you, isn't it?
Huh? The makeup girl?
She's the only one here without an alibi. Those of us who attended the tournament can obviously be ruled out. And as for those who didn't, Desmond and Eloise were in the courtyard. Toshiko and Ingrid were in the same dorm room.
What about Winona? She never mentioned an alibi.
Give me a break.
Winona and I were in the building with the tree all morning. In fact, yes, Desmond and Eloise should have witnessed us walking over there, as those two were in the courtyard at the time.
Yeah, that's true.
In that case, Diana really is the only one without an alibi.
Guys, if she's the person who fled the boiler room, those footsteps we heard make a lot more sense. Heels make a pretty loud clop sound on hard floors, and the underground hallway's floor is pretty hard. Diana would obviously want to take them off. Also, heels aren't comfy to run in.
Whoa! I didn't even think of it like that. You're totally right, though. Since Diana's the only one here with heels, she would have to take them off.
Guys, what are you talking about? Me? A killer? Do you really think I could be a killer?
The fact you weren't at the tournament is incriminating enough.
Not just that. Everyone but you has an alibi.
But I do have an alibi, right, Ava?
Huh?
You woke up with me this morning, and you never saw me leave my dorm.
During the brief amount of time we were together, I never saw you leave. What you did after I left for the game tournament, however, is anyone's guess.
Ava wanted to help me and Cash set up the tournament, so we told her to swing by early.
For that reason, I left Diana's dorm at 8:05 a.m. I know the exact time since her room has a clock. I probably entered the dining hall around 8:10 a.m.-ish.
So much for an alibi then.
Diana, don't tell me.
Holy smokes, it's all falling into place!
Are we sure there hasn't been some sort of misunderstanding?
There's no way!
It's
What'd she do? There's
not
no way.
possible. Diana can't be the killer. No! I refuse to believe it!
Looks like some people here aren't willing to face the facts. It's not a problem, I'll make them face the facts. Whether they like it or not, soon enough, nobody will be able to deny Diana killed Wolfgang. No way!
If it was Diana inside that boiler room, could she be the one who left the blood trail? Because if so, that might be her blood on the knife, too.
Oh my god!
Diana's blood? Are you saying she wounded herself?
No way.
Wounded herself? What makes you think that?
I don't know! Why else would the killer's blood be on their own weapon?
Did we not already agree? The killer was wielding a rolling pin?
Well, maybe they had both. The rolling pin in one hand, and the knife in the other.
No,
Dual
Toshiko.
wielding weapons? Holy, this killer's next level.
Two hands. No, there was two. Hold on. Let's go back to the steel rolling pin. Two very clear, yeah. That did not make sense.
If it was
Diana inside that boiler room, could she be the one who left the blood trail? Because if so, that might be her blood on the knife too.
No way! It's not Diana, not Oomf!
Are you saying she wounded herself? Wounded herself? What makes you think that? Did we not already agree? The killer was wielding a rolling pin?
Well, maybe they had both. The rolling pin in
One hand?
Yeah!
No, that's wrong!
She used two of her hands.
No. The killer was only wielding the rolling pin during their confrontation with Wolfgang. You can tell just from looking at the pin. There are two handprints wrapped around the edge, as if the killer had been holding the pin like a tennis racket, which makes sense because you can swing with more force if you use both hands. And that's what a killer wants when trying to knock out a grown man.
Then, who held the knife?
It wasn't the killer, so it was most likely the only other person in the boiler room, Wolfgang Akire.
He held the knife?
What the hell are you talking about? Wolfgang, carrying a dangerous weapon? Bullshit!
If you were in his situation, wouldn't you? Wolfgang received an anonymous message asking him to meet in a basement, all whilst in the middle of a killing game. At that point, it doesn't matter how much of an optimist he is. You'd know better than to come unarmed.
A knife isn't super hard to find, either. Wolfgang probably just stole one from the kitchen.
Besides, if Diana is the one who got stabbed, it would explain the blood trail. Think about it. She arms herself with the rolling pin and attacks Wolfgang, getting hurt by him in the process. For some reason, possibly because of the blackout, She doesn't clean the blood trail she's leaving, and returns to her dorm room after.
No! That's wrong!
Oh, no!
Huh?
I wasn't stabbed. If I was stabbed, then I'd have an injury. But there's nothing, right? There's nothing on me.
Depends. If a vein got nipped, you'd be seeing blood no matter the size of the cut. Of course. That also means a small cut will need bandaging, which I'm not seeing on you.
You may not see any injuries on Diana, but that doesn't mean they aren't there.
Huh?
If she wanted, she could simply hide her injuries from view. After all, someone like her has exactly what it takes.
But she's a makeup girl.
I got it.
Oh, no.
Her talent. As the ultimate cosmetologist, Diana could easily cover her wounds.
It makes sense. With the right equipment, she could probably disguise even a bandaged wound.
As Diana's bunking partner, I've seen firsthand how many different cosmetics are inside her room. So unfortunately, I have to agree.
Well, Diana, did I get anything wrong?
No. No. But
Wait. Diana, did you just say no? As in, no, you're not wrong that I covered up my wounds? Oh, crap. You guys know what this means, right, guys? Diana basically just confessed!
What?
a confession? Are you for real?
It makes sense, though, doesn't it? Diana got wounded, which proves she got in a fight with Wolfgang, which means all that stuff about Wolfgang going to the boiler room. All that stuff really did happen.
I see. I see now what you were saying. Diana, she lured Wolfgang to the boiler room by writing him that note. And when he arrived, she attacked him and killed him. And now, she's been lying this entire trial, hoping we would never suspect her.
No!
Ah! How cruel!
Diana,
It wasn't me! I promise, it wasn't me!
To think she could preach about friendship after committing a violent crime.
And then try and sentence the rest of us to punishment.
Golly, you're right. If we voted for the wrong person, we would have been executed.
Ah! That's so fucked! Seriously, Diana? What the hell is your damage?
Can we at least hear Diana's side of the story?
Her side?
Well, you know, Diana has, I just think it's fair we listen.
what does it matter what she says? Look at the evidence. This case, it's closed. We know who the killer is.
No way!
If you really want to ask for Diana's side of the story, then do it after the vote.
No! No!
That's right, we had to vote for the killer. Diana, I've proven beyond a reasonable doubt that she's the killer. I've proven it beyond a reasonable doubt.
No! No!
Why is it that when I hear her cry, I get this strange nagging feeling in my chest? Why does it feel like a tiny part of me want to believe the things she's saying? Why all of a sudden do I doubt myself?
Diana was the one who lured Wolfgang to the boiler room. Once he got there, she killed him immediately.
Then she fled the crime scene, hoping the rest of us would never learn the truth.
How could you, Diana? Poor Wolfie was only trying to keep us together.
But I would never murder Wolfgang!
If you don't have an alibi, then you obviously did.
If this goes on any longer, I'm gonna be sick.
What are we waiting for then? Let's get this over with and vote!
No. Is Diana telling the truth? How is that possible when I already know the truth? It can't be possible, not unless...
Diana was the one who lured Wolfgang to the boiler room. Once he got there, she killed him immediately.
Then she fled the crime
scene, hoping the rest of us would never learn the truth.
How could you, Diana? Poor Wolfie was only trying to keep us together.
I would never murder Wolfgang.
If you don't have an alibi...
I don't know how to do it.
Then you obviously did. If this goes on any longer, I'm gonna be sick. What are we waiting for then? Let's get this over with and vote!
Let me grab that damn thing.
Diana was the one who
lured Wolfgang to the boiler room. Once he got there, she killed him immediately. Then she fled the crime scene, hoping the rest of us would never learn the truth. How could you, Diana? Poor Wolfie was only trying to keep us together.
I would never murder Wolfgang.
If you don't have an alibi, then you obviously did.
But I wanted to believe so bad.
If this goes on any longer, I'm gonna be sick. What are we waiting for then? Let's get this over with and vote!
Not bad.
Diana was the one who lured Wolfgang to the boiler room.
Hold E to absorb empathy?
Once he got there, she killed him immediately.
Then she fled the crime scene, hoping the rest of us would never learn the truth.
How could Diana?
Poor Wolfie was only trying to keep us together.
But I would never murder Wolfgang.
If you don't have an alibi, then you obviously did.
But I wanted to believe so badly that you were innocent. Why didn't I see you for who you were?
If this goes on any longer, I'm gonna be sick.
What are we waiting for then? Let's get this over with and vote!
How do you grab the thing? I need a cell phone. Josh, when I need him the most.
Diana was the one who lured Wolfgang to the boiler room. Once he got there, she killed him immediately.
Then she fled the crime scene, hoping the rest of us would never learn the truth.
How could you, Diana?
Hold E? Oh, Q.
Poor Wolfie was only trying to keep us together.
How do I don't understand.
But I would never murder Wolfgang.
If you don't have an alibi, Then you obviously did.
How do I gain sympathy? How do I gain empathy?
But I wanted to believe so badly that you were innocent. I believed you for who you were.
Let's continue.
Diana was the one who lured Wolfgang to the boiler room. Once he got there, she killed him immediately.
Then she fled the crime scene, hoping the rest of us would never learn the truth. How could you, Diana? Poor Wolfie was only trying to keep us together. But I would never murder Wolfgang. If you don't have an alibi,
Then you obviously did.
But I...
What am I supposed to look for? Strange, no? 8:15.
I wanted to believe so badly that you were innocent. Why didn't I see you for who you were?
Which quest? There's nothing mentioning about that. I have no clue what to do.
If this goes on any longer, I'm gonna be sick.
what are we waiting for then? Diana was the one who lured Wolfgang to the boiler room. Once he got there, she killed him immediately.
then she fled the crime scene, hoping the
The rest of us would never learn the truth.
How could you, Diana?
Poor Wolfie was only trying to keep us together. But I would never murder Wolfgang. If you don't have an alibi,
Alibi.
Nope.
That doesn't mean there's any...
Diana was the one who lured Wolfgang to the boiler room. Once he got there, she killed him immediately.
Then she fled the crime scene, hoping the rest of us would never learn the truth.
How could you, Diana? Poor Wolfie was only trying to keep us together.
But I would never murder Wolfgang.
If you don't have an alibi, then you obviously did.
But I...
if this goes on any longer, I'm gonna be sick. What are we waiting for then? Let's get this over with and vote! Diana was the one who lured Wolfgang to the boiler room.
No way.
Once he got there, she killed him immediately. Then she fled the crime scene, hoping the rest of us
Would never learn the truth.
How could you,
Diana? Poor Wolfie was only trying to keep us together. But I would
never murder Wolfgang.
You seriously? Open your damn eyes! Diana was the one who lured Wolfgang to the boiler room. Once he got there, she killed him immediately.
Yeah.
Then she fled the crime scene,
No.
hoping the rest of us would never learn the truth.
Her grabbing the knife?
How could you, Diana? Poor Wolfie was only trying to keep us
How
together.
would they not notice?
But I would
Never
Murder Wolfgang.
You serious? Open your... Diana was the one who lured Wolfgang to the boiler room.
Once he got there, she killed him immediately. Then she fled the crime scene, hoping the rest of us would never learn the truth. How could you, Diana? Poor Wolfie was only trying to keep us together. I would never murder Wolfgang.
If you don't have an alibi,
You serious? Open! Diana was
the one who lured Wolfgang to the boiler room. Once she got there, she killed him immediately. Then she fled the crime scene, hoping the rest of us would never learn the truth. How could you, Diana? Poor Wolfie was only trying to keep us together.
I would never murder Wolfgang!
What?
You seriously? Open your... Diana was the one who lured Wolfgang to the boiler room. Once he got there, she killed him immediately.
Then she fled the crime scene, hoping the rest of us would never learn the truth.
How could you, Diana? Poor Wolfie was only trying to keep us together.
Confused.
But I would never murder Wolfgang!
if you don't have an alibi,
Then you obviously did. If this goes on any longer, I'm gonna be sick.
I know.
What are we waiting for then? Let's get this over with and vote!
Diana
was the one who lured Wolfgang to the boiler room.
Once he got there, she killed him immediately.
No, that's wrong!
I don't know how I got that, but thank God I did.
Hold on. Grace, you're overlooking a crucial detail. Do you recall the note I found in Wolfgang's blazer pocket? It asked him to meet in the boiler room at 8:15 a.m. But, according to the Tozu tablet, he died over an hour later at 9:35 a.m.
That went longer than it should.
That means Wolfgang didn't die right after he got to the boiler room.
What's your point?
My point is that the killer had no reason to lure Wolfgang to the boiler room and then wait over an hour to kill him. There's no guarantee another person won't enter the room during that time. It's in the killer's best interest to be in and out of there as fast as possible. When we originally discussed the note, we lack the context to properly understand this time discrepancy. But if we go with your idea that Diana killed Wolfgang immediately, then that discrepancy becomes all too clear.
How do you know Wolfgang didn't just arrive late?
He was already on his way when I ran into him at 8:10 a.m. He must have arrived on time.
Same goes for the killer. I doubt Wolfgang would stay in the boiler room for long if no one came to meet him. For that reason, we can assume Wolfgang was knocked unconscious soon after he arrived, but there's such a long period of time between him being knocked out and him being killed. Unless you want to tell me he and Diana were in an hour-long struggle, then I'm sure there's more to the mystery here.
Shut the fuck up!
Oh, God.
What the fuck is wrong with you? Don't you see this as a trick? All of Diana's blubbering and crying is just a farce to make us think she's innocent.
I wouldn't fall for a farce like that. My only concern is the evidence not adding up.
If you're still not convinced Diana is the killer, then let me show you something you overlooked. I call it undeniable fucking proof!
I don't know about that, sweetheart. Think again.
I don't give a damn what Diana says! Not only is she the one person without an alibi, the blood from her wounds places her inside the exact same room where Wolfgang died. How can the killer be anyone but her?
What's this? Oh! Oh, I failed. Oops.
I don't give a damn what Diana says! Not only is she the one person without an alibi, the blood from her wounds places her inside the exact same room where Wolfgang died. How can the killer be anyone but her?
If Diana lured Wolfgang downstairs, why would she take over an hour to kill him? It doesn't make sense. Not when there's a risk of someone else entering the boiler room.
What risk? Diana wouldn't have to worry about anyone walking in because Because she could just lock the fucking door!
No.
Boom! Look at that! No intruders! Now take your
No,
argument
no.
and shove it up your ass!
No. Nope, no.
What risk? Diana wouldn't have to worry about anyone walking in because she could just lock the fucking door!
I'll cut through those words!
It's flipped.
The boiler room door can't be relied upon here. If Diana locked it, she would be trapping herself inside the boiler room.
What?
The doorknob has been flipped so that the keyhole faces inside, while the lock faces outside. Had you investigated the crime scene more closely, you might have realized this detail sooner. In any case, locking the door would lock everyone inside the room, not outside. If Diana was the killer, she'd be better off leaving the door open.
Doing this close is so unnatural.
How the heck do you even flip a doorknob? Sounds like something only a tradesperson could do.
Meh. You really think so? Swapping a doorknob is easy. Well, last time I did anything like it was a while ago, but everyone here knows knobs are screwable, right? If you get a screwdriver and know what you're doing, you can rotate a doorknob quick smart.
If you can swap a doorknob, then I guess anyone can.
Right on! Wait, are you saying that like it's a bad thing, or...?
Is that why Diana remained in the boiler room after Wolfgang died? She had been locked inside?
What do you make of the footsteps then? If they were Diana's, it would imply she escaped the boiler room. How do you suppose she did that?
Diana's way of escaping the boiler room, huh? There's a thin piece of metal. Yes.
This is it. Near the boiler room door, I discovered a thin piece of metal. At first glance, it didn't look important, but if you were to fold it in half, theoretically, it would look like a hairpin.
Ah, she used the classic maneuver. Picking a lock with a hairpin. It can be done, it just takes a bit of practice.
Diana probably had this hairpin inside her makeup bag, so she used it to fiddle with the lock until it eventually came undone, which, judging by the timing of her footsteps, happened late into the blackout.
Messing with a lock in pitch blackness. Whew, now that would be impossible for me.
Right. Even if Diana did access light, like through the Tozu trinket, undoing the lock would still be difficult. Way too difficult of a situation to deliberately put herself in.
In which case, that can only mean one thing. Someone else locked the door.
I got it! Someone else must have locked the door.
What?
If we go with our current train of thought, the doorknob was rearranged so you could only lock it from the outside. It doesn't make sense for Diana to rearrange the lock, enter the room, and deliberately trap herself inside, which means someone else must have locked the door.
No, they framed Diana.
I know this doesn't necessarily clear Diana's suspicion, but it's strange enough to warrant further investigation.
I'd rather resolve this thread before we move on to voting.
Agreed. We could easily miss something important if we turn our noses away.
So, why did this mystery person close the door in the first place?
What if they saw the scuffle between Wolfie and Diana and closed the door to protect themselves?
Instead of seeking help? Or trying to stop the scuffle?
You say that like closing the door isn't exactly what you would do.
What kind of asshole do you take me for?
Any chance they locked it to prevent Diana from escaping?
And somehow unscrewed the doorknob without drawing attention to themselves?
Didn't you hear him? He's talking about the door being locked, not the doorknob being unscrewed.
Unless two entirely different people just so happen to interfere with the boiler room at two entirely separate intervals. The one who locked the door is most likely the one who flipped it, yes?
Yes.
Then you should be wondering the same thing. How did they unscrew the doorknob without catching anyone's attention?
Doesn't sound possible.
Not in the moment, it isn't. But what if the doorknob had been swapped beforehand? Say this person knew Wolfgang and Diana were coming to the boiler room. They could have swapped the knob in advance, waited for Diana and Wolfgang to enter, and then closed and locked the door.
So the flipping of the doorknob was premeditated?
With what we currently know, I'd wager it's our safest assumption, at least until we hear Diana's side of the story.
Diana, since you were the last person with Wolfgang, your testimony could be our most valuable piece of evidence yet. You need to tell me what happened. If not for me, or for you, then at the very least, do it for Wolfgang's sake.
I'm sorry. I'm really I wanted to help. I wanted to make everything okay, but all I could do was be useless. All I could do was watch him die. It's all my fault. All my fault. For doing the wrong thing.
So is this a confession, or?
No!
Huh?
I didn't kill Wolfgang. And I don't know who did, but I still failed him as a friend. I failed him then. And I failed him here. But if I told the truth, things would be worse than they already are. But now that I've said nothing...
Diana watched Wolfgang die?
It's okay, sweetheart. Come on now, take deep breaths.
Yeah, we'll believe you no matter what you say.
It's looking like Diana might actually be innocent. It's looking like that, but the nagging feeling in my chest still hasn't gone away. Damn it, what am I doing? Because of one girl, I've been doubting myself and jumping from one argument to another. If I can't piece together my own thoughts, how can I possibly piece together this case? I need to get a grip on myself. I need to keep sight of myself and the goal of this killer. Whatever is thrown at me next, I need to persevere. Because if I don't, if everyone else here votes wrong, I won't leave this place alive.
Has all this murder hubbub left your head in a tizzy?
Oh my god.
Perhaps you need a short break. Something to lighten the mood and let you collect yourself. Something like a nice cup of tea.
Shut up.
Welcome, one and all, to the first episode of Tozu's Tea Time. If you haven't already, please sit back and relax. Here, we do not use our brains, but deal only in gossip.
I need a break. Hold on, I need some water.
Now, a question from me to you. What are sheep good at, if anything? Most humans, and some sheep, tend to respond with a sheep their lip. No, I plot the sheep that they. Isn't that something? What a shame, our sheep.
I don't care.
No, who's Jack Robinson? Ta-ta!
Bye.
Diana, now's your chance to defend yourself. Tell me what happened.
Where do I even start, though?
How about you begin by explaining why you went to the boiler room?
Why I went there? It was 'cause of a note.
A note?
2 days ago, someone slid one into my room. I never got to see who. I just heard a knock. And when I walked over, there was a note under my door.
I don't remember any of this.
Sorry. It was midday-ish, and you weren't there at the time. And I didn't show you the note later because, well, I'll just read you what it said.
Diana, as you are aware, it is our obligation to speak with those whose blackmail we have obtained. After receiving your blackmail and reading the information disclosed in it, I believe a meeting between the two of us is unwarranted. In 2 days' time, please come to the underground boiler room at 8:45 a.m. Make sure to arrive promptly and close the door behind you. To avoid discourse, do not show anyone this letter. Do not approach me about it either, or even in private. Oh, there's a fly. There's always the chance that someone can hear. Wolfgang.
Wolfie wrote this?
Wolfgang had Diana's blackmail? But didn't he have Jean's?
Hold on a sec. If you take a closer look, the handwriting on that note, doesn't it resemble the handwriting on Wolfgang's note?
You're actually right. Even though Wolfgang's note has been water damaged, the words I can make out were in the same messy scroll as Diana's here.
Then someone else was posing as Wolfgang?
The killer, most likely. They must have thought his word was the only one Diana would follow.
Guess it worked, huh?
I didn't want to show this note earlier because I was scared of how people would try to twist it, like saying I faked the note or that I decided to kill because of it. I thought it would be better to just stay quiet. I know you guys think I'm stupid for agreeing to meet in a place like the boiler room. And I am. I am stupid. I just didn't want to disappoint Wolfgang in case he really did write the note, which was why I left my room around 8:40 a.m. and went downstairs.
Did you catch any strange movement down there?
No, it was just me. I did find the boiler room door hanging open a little bit, but I didn't think much of it. I just went inside and closed the door behind me, since that's what the note asked me to do.
What did you see inside the boiler room?
The boiler room was really dark. So the first thing I noticed was actually the security camera light. My eyes had to take a few seconds to adjust to everything else. But after that, I finally saw him.
Whoa, he was still alive then!
Wolfgang was lying in the water, making these weird noises. It didn't seem like he'd even notice me entering the room. Not until... Wolfgang? Hearing his name seemed to snap him out of his trance, because he slowly rose to his feet. Wolfgang, are you okay?
Oh, God!
It's you.
Huh?
I can't believe it. I really am finally meeting you.
What do you mean?
Please, forgive me. Please forgive me for what I've become.
Wolfgang?
Despite how hard I tried how much I wanted it to be true. I could never become you. I will always be a failure.
It's okay, Wolfgang. Look! There's stairs over here. Come over here and we can get out. I have no idea if he didn't hear me, or if he was just ignoring me. But, okay. I'll get closer to you then. I went over to the ledge of the platform, the part where the fence had a gap. Just take my hand, okay? And I'll pull you out. He slowly stumbled over, and he held my hand. I didn't really think I could pull him out. I just wanted to be there for him. It was the best I could do, because I didn't want to enter the water. Staying on the platform felt so much safer. And I really, really hate that it did. It's okay, Wolfgang. We'll get through this together, all right? I was looking at him when I said that. I was looking right at him. But somehow... somehow I didn't think to react. When he reached inside his blazer.
Bring her back. Bring her
I tried to leave the room, but the door was locked. I didn't know what to do. I started looking around for things to defend myself with, and that's when I saw the gun.
The taser gun? Did you use it?
I took the taser, and I aimed it at Wolfgang, and I couldn't do it. I couldn't shoot him. I just backed away from him. I couldn't understand anything. Why was this happening to me? Why was I being attacked? Why can't I do anything to...
I'm not like you. I'll never be like you. I won't give up until the world knows. I won't give up until everyone knows me as...
All of a sudden, everything turned white. Everything in front of me. Except Wolfgang. In those few seconds, he became pitch black. And then, so did everything else. Even though I didn't see Wolfgang fall over, I heard it, his body cracking against the pavement, and his knife falling into the water. I waited for the gasp of pain, for him to groan or mumble or say something, but there was nothing. There was just me and the silence. That's how it happened.
What the fuck?
That man attacked you?
Oh my goodness, Diana, I'm at a loss for words.
This is getting too much for me, bros. I think I'm gonna faint.
Holy shit. So Diana really did watch Wolfgang die.
Why was he so violent towards her? It's like he became an entirely different person.
The word you're looking for is crazy.
Despite how hard I tried, despite how I wanted it to be true, I could never become you. How would Wolfgang sing those words in a particular moment?
How'd you manage to escape the boiler room after all that? By picking the door's lock.
For reals?
I wasn't even thinking. I just started feeling my way back to the door in the dark. And then, well, my supply bag. I remembered the spare hairpins I always kept inside. So I felt around the bag and dug one out. To be honest, I have no idea how I managed to unlock the door. The whole thing was repeated trial and error. Just minutes of me telling myself that somehow this next attempt will finally work.
Whoa! Actually unlocking the doors. That's like hitting a bullseye blindfolded.
Now we know why it took so long for her to escape.
I realized why it happened. Getting trapped inside, I mean. The door's lock was on the outside. So, someone must have set the lock before I came downstairs, so that when I closed the door, I'd be trapped.
The lock is normally on the inside too. The killer purposely flipped it, then left the door open so you would be the one to close it. As for why the killer locked the door to begin with...
It was to frame Diana, right?
Right. The killer made Diana trap herself inside the boiler room, so they could kill Wolfgang in front of her, and force her to remain by his body. Had their plan worked, Diana would only be able to escape if someone from outside entered the boiler room. By which point, that someone would be stumbling across what looks like a cut-and-dry murder case.
If the tournament folk found Diana, they would have been playing right into the killer's hands.
Speaking of which, Diana, I'm curious to know, did you unlock the door before or after the tournament attendees arrived downstairs?
It sort of happened at the same time. Like, when I opened the door, there were already people walking down the stairs. Obviously, I couldn't stay inside the boiler room. If anyone saw me close to Wolfgang's body, it would look really bad. The hallway was a bit easier to make out in the dark. So I walked over to a wall bordering one of the storage closets and hid behind it. And stayed as quiet as possible. I was still bleeding a little from Wolfgang's cut though, and some of that blood ended up dripping onto the floor around me.
Hence the blood on the underground floor! It's all coming together!
This was shortly before us tournament goers split up. And you made a run for it, yeah?
Mm-hmm. Down the hallway, up the stairs, and then as quietly as possible into my room. Since everything was still really dark, I had to patch myself using the Tozu trinket's projection as my light. I realize this is a lot, and I know it's hard to believe without proof. So, if you guys could just give me a second.
Reaching into her makeup bag, Diana pulled out a wipe and began scrubbing her arm.
I cleared up the blood pretty fast. Luckily for me, the cut wasn't that deep. There's still a chance it may leave a scar, though.
Holy crap! That's awful!
It's okay. I'll cover it back up again.
Why did Wolfgang attack you for no reason?
I wouldn't say it was for no reason.
You're being kind of insensitive, man.
Huh? I didn't mean it like that. What I'm trying to say is, Wolfgang's actions may look random from an outsider's perspective, but from his perspective, well, judging by his behavior, it seems like he saw something which shook him to his core.
Like, there was something in the room that Diana didn't see?
That's impossible! It was only me and Wolfgang in the boiler room!
I don't believe Jean meant it in a literal sense.
Wolfgang literally saw something?
He thought he saw something, is my point.
You mean he had been hallucinating?
What did Wolfgang hallucinate for him to turn out the way Diana described?
You'd be surprised by the sort of things our minds can invent. I'm lucky to have never experienced anything myself, but I know some who have hallucinated nasty things. Demons and monsters. Or the feeling of being tortured. If Wolfgang went through something similar, I can see why he lashed out.
Now what the heck is going on at sea?
Of course, these hallucinations don't just happen out of the blue. More often than not, they're substance-induced.
Substance-induced? Just say Wolfgang took a hallucinogenic.
Hallucinogenics?
One which induced a lot of fatigue, too, judging by the way he lumbered about in Diana's account.
It would explain why Wolfgang mostly stayed in one place.
One place, which happened to be in the water.
Seems very deliberate. Aye. I reckon the killer knocked Wolfgang unconscious in order to drag him into the water, but knew he would eventually wake up again. So they drugged him with something which would basically make him despondent. As for where the drug came from...
Oh no! Don't tell me the killer robbed...
I knew exploring it was a bad idea.
It? What's this it we're talking about?
The pharmacy, obviously! Why the heck did we think leaving that place open was a good idea? Now someone's stolen an item and drugged Wolfgang. Fuck! I knew our promise was too good to be true! I can't trust any of you guys! And don't say Wolfgang drugged himself! Who wants to be tortured by demons?
Well, stranger people do exist.
That's rich coming from you!
It's just as I predicted. Exploring the pharmacy ended up paving the way for murder. Should I have made more of an attempt to stop people from exploring? Back then, all I did was... With cautious yet determined expressions, the students were entered with the newly opened pharmacy. Giving everyone's unrestricted access to medication sounded like a disaster in the making, but having already evoked the group's ire about speaking my mind before, I wasn't about to make the same mistake twice. I'll just stay quiet, let them do their own thing. Then again, nobody would have listened to me. Especially not with Wolfgang in control.
If we know where the perpetrator got their chemicals, I guess our next step is figuring out how they did the drugging.
Agreed. It would help us better understand the timeline of events, and potentially even validate Diana's testimony.
Sounds like you guys can leave this one to me. I'm the kind of person who knows someone back to front the moment I meet them. If you haven't already realized, I've gone and read this killer like an open book.
You're the last person I trust to reach a correct conclusion.
Just you wait! The second you hear what I gotta say, you'll be eating those words!
Putting down how Wolfgang was drugged may validate Diana's testimony. The question is, how did the